Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. We're very glad to have you here. Welcome to Supercharge your development workflow with Gemini Code Assist. This will be a demo-heavy session. We try to have pretty big fonts so everybody can follow along, but if you want to come a little bit closer, don't be shy. You'll have a better experience, we hope. My name is Alexis, and I am joined today.
Hi, I'm Romin.
By Romin, and we're here to talk to you about Gemini Code Assist. And Romin, I haven't been following really everything that's going on with, AI-assisted coding. So maybe we can use this session to try to go through some of the things, and you can show me how much value I can get out of an AI assistant whilst coding.
Yeah, so what we have today is, what you see in terms of, first we'll just start off with, in terms of software development, what are some of the efficiencies that, typically we would want from some of these AI assistants. And then we'll sort of zoom into the Gemini Code Assist, assistant that's there across the IDEs that we will show you. Plus, we'll see how all of this fits within the software development lifecycle. So at each of the stages, how Gemini Code Assist helps you, whether it's to do with designing, to do with building, testing, deployment, and all of that. And it's going to be, demo, right across each of these steps.
Excellent. So I think the goal here, what I'm expecting from this, is to be more productive. I want to spend less time context switching, less time searching for things, more time doing things, and at the end of the day, achieve more. I mean, that's really what I think I want to expect from this. So at the end of the day, I want to do things a bit faster. I want the quality of what I deliver to be better as well. I want to be more productive at the end of the day. And hopefully, what we'll show today is more than just coding. I want to be able to do a bit more than just writing code. I want to be able to understand code. I want to be able to write tests. And I want to be able to deploy and troubleshoot. So hopefully, we'll be able to do all of that.
Yeah. And particularly, right, Gen AI can help us do that, because not just from, say, writing code, writing test cases, but even if you go across different personas, like can we maybe understand some of the logs that are out there? Can Gen AI help us with that? So we'll be looking at each of these areas and seeing how it can help us. But it's also nice, next slide, or at least put down, right, in terms of not just how it can help us, but what are the areas that developers expect AI assistants to help with. So this research paper, it highlights key areas that AI assistants, or the other way, developers expect AI assistants to help them with. So if you look at the first set of points in the first column, you will find it's right from code summarization to just code generation, code completion, writing unit tests, but also support for most programming languages that all of us use today, plus integrating and working in tools which you are familiar with. But not just these requirements, you're also seeing that there are more pointed, I would say, expectations in terms of how are these prompts used. For example, how did we reach some of those answers? Where is this exactly hosted? Are these recent LLMs? But primarily what we'll be focusing on today is what you see in the first column, primarily around designing, building it out, coding it out, deploying, and all of that. And yeah.
So I'm assuming that this is Gemini Code Assist. This is what we'll be showing and highlighting here. It's called Gemini. So Romin, we hear a lot about Gemini. How does this relate to everything else? Maybe it's time to clarify a few things.
Yeah. So it's good, Alexis, that you asked this. So if you look at this slide, right, the way we would like to put this out is that there are, DeepMind and Google Research, the core foundation models that are out there. Now, these are hosted on the Vertex AI infrastructure. So if you are a builder, you're familiar with some of the ML, tools, frameworks, etc. out there, you would use Vertex AI to build out models, to host them, to monitor them, build out pipelines completely. But we also want to bring this, whole models and the usefulness of that to users of the platform. So if you are a user, and specifically in this case, if you are a developer, that model is sort of surfaced into Gemini Code Assist so that it can help you with the task as a developer that you're familiar with. And to sort of highlight that a little bit more in terms of how we've built this out, this slide sort of points that. So the way you would want to read this is at the core foundation. You've got those foundational models, which are hosted on our infrastructure. But the next thing which you see, which is tuned for Google Cloud expertise. So we've taken these foundational models, we've infused them with Google Cloud knowledge. So this could be our API docs, our documentation, our code samples, and a lot of that which comes together so that this model is now well tuned to help you out as you're working with GCP, not just from a developer point of view, but even if you are an operator looking out for certain commands and more. You also see an additional point out there or step out there. It's optional, but in case an enterprise wants to customize this, such that the answers are from their code base, depending upon their code style, etc., it can even be built in that fashion. Finally, what you find is now, depending on whether you are a developer, working in the IDE, or you're an operator responsible for running apps on Google Cloud, and you're looking for a certain kind of help of that nature, it's contextualized now and brought into the familiar tools. So whether you're using an IDE or using our console, you'll be having access to this. But the whole goal is that all of this should help you work much more efficiently with Google Cloud, and in other words, increase your productivity.
Excellent. So coding is more than just writing code. It's also reading code, making sense of code that you're handed over. It's about testing the code. It's about doing a lot of different things. So this code assist, and I think the answer is yes, but I would like to know a bit more, can help with different phases of what we call the software development lifecycle.
Yeah. So if you break down the software development lifecycle, right? We've broken this down into two sections which you see. One is assisted development, and the other one is assisted operations. Now, if you go through the SDLC cycle stages, right, you start off with design. So can it help you with building out an API specification, and then moving forward, let's take that specification. Can we build out, let's say the next set of boilerplate code, keep enhancing, iterating through that, writing some test cases and so on. That's pretty much the inner loop that you have out there. But as you move on to the next step, you find that you would also want to now take this, deploy this, run it in production, get some feedback from there, maybe some incidents or log analysis and more. So even, for example, suggestions on how I could better scale it, how I could configure this application of production, it can help you on these stages also. So in summary, what we are saying is that the Gemini Code Assist or Gemini for Cloud, it helps you across all of these stages of the SDLC. Our focus would be primarily on the assisted development part today, where we'll show you the entire cycle, and of course some bits of even the operations, where we'll show you how we can get help to deploy this.
Okay, so we're actually deploying to production in the demo?
Yes, we will.
We'll try. Okay, great, awesome. So speaking of the demo, I think it's about to start talking and start showing. Hey, Romin, I shared with you that data. We have all the sessions from this conference, so 500 plus sessions. They're listed with speakers, abstracts, titles, all of that. I gave you access to that database, so maybe we can leverage that and start building something from that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that sounds great. So how about we actually move to the demo machine and start showing how to use Google Cloud Code Assist. Yeah. So Romin, this looks familiar for anybody that uses VS Code. Yeah. We're in the cloud. This is actually Cloud Shell Editor, but this is really VS Code running in the cloud.
That's right.
Everything you're about to see, you could do running on your local machine with a VS Code or in different IDEs. Like IntelliJ is another option, and there are more options possible. But here, for the sake of this demo, we'll be running in Google Cloud.
Yeah.
Do you want to show maybe the database I showed you? I gave you. So what we'll be using here is something called Cloud Firestore, which is a document database, and in our case, we have a collection of documents. Every document is a session, and with each of them, you'll find categories, speakers, obviously a title and a summary, and each document has a unique identifier that it can be referenced by.
Sure.
So that's the database. We have that. It's structured but raw data at this point. And this is the Cloud Shell editor that was configured, as you might see here, to use Gemini Code Assist, formerly known as Duet AI, if any of you were following along. So how about we do the following? I like to work with APIs. I think we should define an API, implement that API, and then we'll eventually get to consume that. Can we get a specification, like an open API specification, and get some help from Code Assist to generate that API?
Yeah. So we'll start right from scratch, as you're saying. Again, just to reiterate, we are going to be dealing with the sessions that are happening at this event, and maybe an API to list the sessions, search sessions by ID, and so on. So I'll just switch sometimes to a doc so that I can just copy the prompts that I have ready to show you over here. So bear with me while I do that sometimes. So the first step, as Alexis mentioned, so I'm inside of the ID. I'm opening up Gemini Code Assist over here, and I'm going to be giving a prompt over here. Let me just fire the prompt, and then I'll just go through what we are doing here. So first up, we are saying, help me generate an open API spec that helps me go through sessions, sessions by ID, and so on. And each session, I'm also mentioning the attributes that are there, the ID, the title. So that was the prompt that we had, and it's given us basically the open API spec. As you can see, the parts that we mentioned for sessions, sessions by ID, and then we had sessions by category. And at the end, you also got the session object schema, which has, we've specified it, like it's got ID, the title, the list of speakers, categories, and so on. So what I'm going to do is, there are multiple ways you could get this into your file, but one of the ways, I'll just quickly create this specification. So I'm going into my project, and I'll just put this as OpenAPI spec.yaml. I've just got a templated Flask application, and we'll obviously overwrite it with all the code that we develop along the way. So I've put in the OpenAPI spec over here. So that's our first step that you're seeing, Alexis. Looks good to you?
It looks good, but I see a lot of errors here. Like, did it generate actually errors? That's not good.
Well, they look like errors, but these are more like, I would say, things that you need to pay attention to. So you may have heard about a recitation checker that checks that in case Gemini has given you code or any kind of configuration thing, but if it is from projects that have been permissible to use for our training, if it's recited exactly, it points out the source of that code so that you can make a decision whether this is okay for you to use or not. So whenever you see that, it's likely that it's a code recitation thing. Of course, could be another issue also, but you can see as you highlight here, it's shown to you, and you can make a decision now whether you want to accept this code. Enterprises particularly require this, so that in case they have some requirements that say we're not okay with use of a certain open source license, maybe this is a way you can have a safeguard.
And we're here in a pretty open environment, so you as a developer get to decide that, but enterprises are also able to lock down choices
to configure it.
That's their developers. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that. How about we, Python is your language of choice. Flask is probably what we'll use as a framework.
Yeah.
I think at this point we just have a blanket, an open project. We want to generate the API that will implement this specification.
Sure.
So probably get some help from Code Assist here as well.
Okay. So here's my next prompt that I'm going to go for. Let me just help you with some screen estate. Okay. So we've got our OpenAPI spec, and here's the next prompt I'm firing that generate a Python application using the Flask framework based on this YAML file, which is the OpenAPI spec. And for data right now, though we'll connect later to the Firestore database, we are saying just use some local in-memory, maybe a sample list of records. So as you can see, it's got you the sample data as well as some code to go for those methods.
Yeah, I like the sample data. That's probably very useful to start testing. The import statements look good to me. Do you know Flask RESTful? Is that good for you? Is that's something it's relying on? I'm assuming here.
I'm not too familiar with Flask RESTful extension. Okay. Probably what I would have liked is maybe just core Flask itself to do this. So I'm going to give it a shot here by telling it do not use Flask RESTful extension. So okay. Basically, you're just doing a follow-up, just showing you some code, but maybe you just want some changes. In my case, I'm not too familiar with this. Let me see what it comes up with here now.
And again, I think the point here is it's an assistant, right? Yeah. First of all, you're in charge, and then the goal is not to feed it answers and expect everything to be right from the get-go. Obviously, you can iterate and have this conversation in context of what you're doing. Okay. So did it bring anything more interesting for you? Seems it has removed that import statement?
Yeah, it's removed that and it's gone back to the standard app routes, which are there. So I'm good with this for now. So what I'm going to be doing is just overwriting the existing app.py which I had in my project. I'll just take that and replace it with this particular thing itself. Okay, so I have now at least, so I've got 3 of my endpoints now there, and with sample data that's there in this collection at this point.
Okay, I'll be honest, I'm not a big Python guy. What is this last line? I'm assuming that's the bootstrap, that's how you run the app. Can you tell me more about that? Or can Code Assist tell me more about that?
Yeah, we'll ask Code Assist that. So I've just highlighted a snippet that I want more details on, but this could be the entire file, but in this case, we'll just go for the specific one. And multiple ways you can invoke the Code Assistant for explaining the code, but what we'll do here is, you see this light bulb, we've highlighted the code we want more details on, and you see this explain this here. So when I fire this, let me increase this. Oops. I didn't mean to go here. Okay, that's fine. All right. So what happens now is it's giving you some more details on what that line of code was about, and potentially it also tells you that the default port is like 5000. Maybe we may want to change that. Any other requirements, Alexis, you may have to do this?
Maybe listen on a given IP address as well and bind this to like 0000.
Yeah, so let me take the next prompt just to show you, you've already got some code that's highlighted there, and you're saying update this one to use another application port, maybe bind it to a different host address, and
Yeah, let's see what happens here. So in that iterative mode. Okay. And I guess it's come back with something that makes sense, but I guess we'll find out if this is right.
Yeah, so I'll just, since I've already highlighted it here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you another way. I could just insert the new snippet of code, and that's where I'll just use this. So there you go. We've got some of our code now up and running here. Yeah.
I think we should run this now.
Sure.
We have enough to run this. We have dummy data, but something to maybe exercise that API. Should we do that?
Yeah. So let's, it's local here right now. I've just opened up a terminal, and I'm going to just do a Python app.py. It'll bring up the development server in debug mode. Let's see. So we've got it up and running, port 8080 as you can see. I'll be using the web preview feature here to just see what comes up.
Because we're in the cloud, port 8080 on localhost is actually in the cloud as well. It's not really localhost.
Yeah.
But sounds like we have a small error here.
Okay.
So, but I think I know what this is, and you do too.
You go first.
I think we just haven't mapped the route here to anything. Like we have different paths to sessions, we just don't have anything there. So maybe.
Yeah. So we've got sessions by ID and category, but we don't have the route thing mapped. So that's why it's got not found, which is fine. We'll fix all of that also going forward. But for now, we could test out the sessions. Sorry, the sessions endpoint. So we go with sessions. There you go.
And we have that dummy data.
We've got the 3 records that we have. Let's see our sessions, maybe one more thing, session by ID maybe 2. Oops, my ID was wrong here. So ID is 2, that brings up this.
Okay.
Okay.
So it sounds like we have a running implementation of that API with dummy data.
Yeah.
The way this was created is we have everything in this one file called app.py, and it has the dummy data in there. Not a big fan of, mixing code and data. Can we maybe switch to like split this into having a data in a different file and Code Assist help us with some refactoring to make that a bit cleaner?
Yeah. So let's refactor, this data out and take help from Code Assist, what it tells us. So that's my next prompt here, which is, let me fire this and then we'll talk about it. So I'm just saying, can I improve this code, separate out the sessions data, from this app.py file. So this should ideally be giving us some suggestions on how we can separate this and maybe link back into the main file also.
So this is merely just a refactoring. We're not adding features, we're not changing anything, but we're getting suggestions on how to make this code a bit cleaner.
Yeah. So right now it's telling you could create a file called sessions.py and put this here. And it's also telling you that in your app.py you could just do a reference the the import sessions which you see.
I think you should do that. That makes a lot
of
sense.
So let me go ahead first and by the way we've got our development server up and running. So in case we make any changes, it's going to reload. If there are errors, we'll be able to see that.
Okay.
So I'm
going to see if you break anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try that. So
I'm going to go to first creating a separate file called sessions.py. I'll go back to Gemini Code Assist. I'll insert this new sessions. You'll see there that it's like refresh that so far okay, surviving. I'll go back to app.py and obviously I want this removed, so I'll just take all of this and see. Give me a minute as I do this. Okay. So I'm going to just take whatever it's given the modified code, put that. So far, okay, I'm going to come back to my URL, do a refresh. All this looks good for now.
Okay, you haven't broken anything. Congrats, Romin.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so we have something that's a bit cleaner. How about we get some real data where you start hooking up the database? I think it's time. Like we have this separated out.
Yeah.
We need to talk to a database. It's a service. It's running. We saw the data live.
Yeah.
But how do I even get to this in Python? Are there libraries that you should be using? Maybe, again, Code Assist can help here.
Yeah, so earlier you had mentioned we've got this data loaded in our Firestore collection. And I know there's a library, a module in Python for called Google Cloud Firestore that helps you sort of make it easier to work with Firestore. So our next prompt will be to sort of see what we can do to refactor this or just transform this sessions.py completely to connect to a live database. So I'm going to take that prompt. Let me fire that and we'll talk about it. So what I'm saying here is, could you further refactor this to read from a Firestore database which has our sessions collection, right? And you find here that it's given you some code for replacing your sessions.py with, right? And of course the rest of it would be pretty much the way it is. So what I'm going to do now is just take this new code that it's given me and insert that. Let's see what happens. Oops.
I think you broke something. The server's not running anymore. What happened there?
Okay. So what's happened is that we've imported the Google Cloud Firestore module, but we've probably not updated our requirements .txt, the Python environment with it. So let me do that. It's good that this happened. So I'm going to go back to my requirements file and of course Google Cloud.
Express the dependency.
Firestore. Now once I do that, VS Code environment has detected there's probably a change. This is again the VS Code environment. Let's go ahead and just update the existing one so that it just gets this new module too.
Okay, so now we have an environment. Just to recap a little bit, we've created that open API file. We've implemented this in a Python Django application.
Yeah.
We've exercised this, made it a bit cleaner, started talking to the database, or so we hope. So let's see, can you start the server again and see if it comes up? Now we should be loading that library, and
Okay.
servers come up. Let's see if we get the data from the database.
Yeah.
And it looks like we are able to scan through a good number, I think 500 plus sessions.
Yeah, and let's say if we go to maybe one of the detailed ones, dev 308, there you go. So it's now connected live to the Firestore database and the sessions collection.
Okay, good job, Romin, or good job, codebases. I don't know.
Codebases.
It's both of you. Okay. Hey, Romin.
Yeah.
There's no test. Like, this is wrong. Like, I don't feel great.
Maybe should we do a UI first, web application?
Okay, maybe we do the web UI. Okay, let's do that.
Okay, so let's create a web application, a simple one, a form that lets you search these same results by, let's say, a category, right? So we don't have anything right now, so let's again use a code assist. So another prompt that I'll fire for generating a web application.
So what you're saying is we've implemented the API, it's getting its data, now we want to consume that API. And what we're doing here is we're building a web app that will be consuming, hitting all those endpoints.
Yeah, maybe one endpoint for now to just search sessions by category.
Okay, let's do that.
So what I'm saying over here is that, just give me sessions by category search, single page HTML which has all the JavaScript, CSS in it. Of course, I could always iterate over it. Let's just take the file right now and see what it's come up with, and we'll take a look at this. So I'm just going into the existing index HTML that we have. Let me get some space over here. So control 1, okay. All right. So if you see, we've got some style that it's given us. We've also got a form where you can submit the category, and this submission happens to our sessions, category endpoint, which we already have. So we've got the index HTML, but we still need to, have a handler for the root part. There was a not found exception that we saw in the first, a while back. So we need to add another route to it. So again, I'll just take help from, Gemini here. Let's say generate a new app route to return, let's say, index HTML, and via the render template framework that I know about in Flask. So let's see, it should give us a new app route which will handle the root endpoint and which returns back this new index HTML that we've just got. Okay, so it's given me the entire file, but you can see it would have added this app route here that you see for the index HTML. So let me just take oops, not this code, all of this, and then I go here and just insert it into the file. Let's see if our development server is still up and running, which it is. Sorry. So I go back here to the running app, sorry, the browser. Let's go here. That's our app.
So okay. And we have a front end. Congrats.
Okay, and let's search for a few. There you go. A few of these, and AI.
AI. Yeah, I hear there's a bit of AI at this conference. So yeah, can you click on just any of those to see? Like, clearly we only have a front end, so the rest will be JSON. But
yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, how about tests?
All right.
I really want tests.
Yeah, so this is where Gemini really comes in, right? Where you have written some code and you're telling me to write tests. Okay, I'll tell Gemini to write code.
Okay, that's Gemini, that's fine.
Okay, so
because I'm getting my test, I'm happy.
Yep. Okay, so let's go for test case generation and a few things that we'll show you there. So the first prompt, right, which is so I'm in my app.py and I've got several. Okay, let me just clear up this. Okay. And I've got some of these, app routes out there. So the easiest way is something like this. You can further, refine this prompt too. But I'm just saying generate unit test cases and use the Python unit test module.
Okay, so I mean, this is testing, so it's not smart enough to write all the tests, or is it? You know, how does it know what to test for? It knows the infrastructure, so it knows about different routes
Yeah,
to test
yeah.
with. What is a passing test is
Yeah.
probably something we'll need to refine.
Yeah. So let's just take a look at first what it's come up with. So I'm just going to first create this test.py file, and I'm going to space this here. Let's get some more space. Okay. Let's revisit what is done. So it's imported our Flask app. It's got now several of these endpoints. So we've got our get sessions, and if you see here, it hits the sessions point. Request 200 is okay, and of course it's adding a few asserts which at times it may not have the information on. So here we know that there's a Firestore collection somewhere, and maybe it doesn't know the IDs or things like that. So it's probably put some dummy asserts for data, that is. So we could maybe I'll just try a few modifications here. So I'll go with 200 for now. Then let's see, get session by ID, right?
Yeah,
okay,
I don't think
so I'm going to go to the
user real ID.
the real ID that we got instead of 1, and hopefully then this test should also pass with 200. I mean, I could figure out exactly how to write this assert equal, but I'll just take it out. Then we've got sessions by category, by index. What I'll do is I'll just maybe I'll just skip these tests for now, though. If, for example, the index page which you see, you could have known what's the HTML return and even checked some part of it. So assert in, maybe that's fine, but for now, let's
You're
take that out.
deleting tests already.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and it's then even completed that, hey, this is how you could, run your tests. So I've got 3 tests over here, sorry, 2 tests over here. Let's see what happens. So what I'll do is I'm going to again go back to my local development server that's running fine. I'll keep that running because I need to hit that server. So I'm going to open up another terminal. Let's get some space here. Okay, I'll just clear this up and do Python test.py. What do you think should happen?
Well, I'm hoping they pass.
Okay.
Okay, they do.
The 2 tests have passed.
Okay, so we have some tests. Like,
We have some, yeah.
it's a start. Okay.
Yeah.
I like tests written before code.
TDD.
TDD. Like,
Okay.
can we try to do that? Like,
Yeah.
there's probably a few things we can add as a feature. Maybe search by. Do you want to search by category? Maybe.
The category we've already got.
Oh, we have it.
We
have
have
it.
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we've got ID, we've got category. Speakers is missing.
You decide. So speakers. Let's go for
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So we want to
Oh.
write the test, have it fail because obviously the implementation is not there,
Yeah.
and then write the implementation.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. So we're in test.py. That's fine. We'll open up Gemini here, and I'm going to put this prompt over here. Generate a new test case. So I don't have the implementation for that in my app.py. I'm just saying let's generate a test case first to search for sessions by speaker.
Okay, so that shouldn't be too.
So it's
complicated.
given me something. Let's create some more space. Okay, so I'm going to put in this new test that I've got. Okay, and of course, it's given me some dummy data. This
Well,
speaker
you don't know.
is not
Jane
there.
might exist.
No.
All right, let's use someone we know exists.
Yeah, so I'll just take this live data that we have. I'll take the speaker's name from here, and I'm going to put this here.
Okay.
So this should ideally get me 200 if everything is fine. I'll just remove this assert equal for now. Now, obviously, we don't have this implementation.
Right.
So if we are going to be running the test suite again,
Yeah. So now we have 3 tests, and one of them is failing.
one of them is failed, and it's saying it's not. We got a 400 because there is really nothing by speaker. So that's where we are. So we don't have any implementation here that says get sessions by speaker. So the next step would be then, hey, give me that implementation so that my tests can pass. So I'm just going to take this prompt again here, and I'm going to say add a new route to search by sessions for a specific speaker.
Okay, let's see what happens here. This should be more data to add to your app.py file.
Yes, that's correct. So I'm going to go into the app.py file, maybe one more route that's come up here, and the list comprehension. Let's quickly see, everything looks fine. Speaker in session, speaker. Okay, this looks good. Maybe. So let's.
Do we still have that server running?
We still have that server. Yes, it's running.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to the other terminal instance that we had. Let me just clear this and run my tests again. So we're successful now with the third test.
Okay, good. Yeah. I feel better. We have 3 tests. They're passing. Okay, this is good. I think it's time we actually deploy this. We've done a bunch of things. We started off with an API. We've implemented the API. We've hooked up the database. We have this web app.
Yeah.
We have a few tests that are passing.
Yeah.
Should we deploy?
Yeah, we can.
Where do you want to deploy to? Cloud Run?
Yeah, I'll choose Cloud Run.
Okay. But Cloud Run is amazing to run containers. Like this is not a container, at least not yet. Can we?
Not yet. So I do know that there is a command, a gcloud command to deploy an application to Cloud Run from sources. In other words, it would build the container behind the scenes for you. I don't want to build anything of that sort locally here, but I don't exactly remember the command for that. So I'm going to be firing a prompt that sort of says what my requirement is. So let me get that and put it out here. So what I'm saying here is I would like to deploy this to Cloud Run. I don't want to build a container image locally. Sorry, it happened too fast here. So, and deploy it directly from source. So what's the gcloud command for it? So this is another way by which you could use Gemini Code Assist to even help you, not just with your development tasks, but you're working with Google Cloud. So specific like gcloud CLI can help you with commands for that. So
are you happy with the results?
Source is in the root, and sessions would be my service name. Unauthenticated is fine. Probably there are other more parameters, but if they're mandatory ones, the gcloud command line should bring that up.
Okay. So you want to use that and deploy straight?
Yep. So let's do that. So I'll just go ahead and.
So we're deploying the Sessions app from source in an environment.
Okay.
It's asking you a question. Where do you want to deploy this to?
Deploy it. Yeah, since Cloud Run is a regional service, so let's go with US Central 1. And now if you see what's happening, it's taking your sources, uploading it up there. There's a Cloud Build service behind the scenes that sort of builds out this container, creates a Cloud Run revisions, a service revision for you, and points it to that container image. So it's going to take some time.
Okay. Was this a good application to deploy to production? Should we have done anything? Can we maybe ask?
We can try to, because we've done something in debug mode, and I don't know what other suggestions it could give, but let's try.
All right, let's see what it says while it's deploying. Shouldn't take too long, but maybe we have enough time.
Yeah, so we will ask a fairly generic question out here that, hey, let's get some more space here. That is there anything I need to do to deploy this application to production? Let's see what it comes up with. I mean, this is a general question. Maybe it will give us some suggestions. Let's see what it comes up with. Can't say, but let's see.
Yeah, I don't feel too good about the debug equals true, but.
Not bad. So it's done a few good suggestions out here. So of course, there's a Flask environment variable. It's letting you know, because you could accordingly do feature flags via this. The second point is interesting. It's telling us that you could have, ideally, you don't want this to be in debug mode. And sure, there's also some suggestions out there for doing that. And it's given you probably some changes. But again, it's completely up to you.
Another thing it could have said is maybe add some logging, because things will go wrong and you probably want.
Yeah.
It didn't say that, but.
It didn't say that, yeah. So, yeah, or you could have asked maybe this prompt in a slightly different way too, possible. Yeah.
Okay. How's the deployment going?
No, it's still going on.
Okay, it's going on.
Yeah, it's going on still.
Yeah, shouldn't take much longer. It's creating the revision. At least the container has been built.
Yeah.
So now we're pushing it, and we should get a URL back.
Ideally, once the service is running, ready to receive requests, we should be getting a URL. Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything else? So we don't have logging here at this point, but there's system logging happening in any case. So we see deployments happening, we see HTTP requests, so we're able to, with the logging tool, to actually go and see all of that that's happening.
So I think once the service is deployed, we'll just check whether the app came up, whether we can hit a few URLs, and then those URLs should be visible in our access logs.
Okay, looks like it's taking a little bit longer than we had expected, but that's fine. Do you want to try adding logs then in that case? Just, we're not going to deploy it because it's still going on, but do you want to ask what it would take to actually add those logs?
Yeah.
Do we need a specific library?
There's a library that's there, but of course I would like to know how to use that and what could be the sample code to do that.
Okay, let's try that.
So I could go here again, sorry, to Gemini. Let's get this space. And I say, how do I use this package in Python? I mean, this could be any other language. This could be any other client libraries that we've got, or working with any different services, and that should also give you. So obviously it's telling you there's a new package to install, but post that, it's also giving you step-by-step things around creating the client to it, maybe giving your logger a name, and then it would be as simple as just logging the text. So I could have put this maybe in any of my app routes, for example, sessions by speaker, sessions by ID, and got some logging also in place.
Okay, great. Yeah. Hey, I think it has deployed.
Yeah.
Took a little bit longer, but we're there.
That's the URL. Let's
try to hit that URL. And it should look familiar, right? That should look like what we had in development.
So this is a Cloud Run, a service that's deployed now, and we could. Let's go to AI and search. There
and the sessions are still there.
Yeah, the sessions are still there.
Awesome.
There's one by AI, maybe there's one by app modernization. Did it come up?
All that correctly? Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so to recap, we started off with the idea of building that API, putting this in an open API file. We've implemented that. This happened to be a Django, of course. See, my preferences are showing now. So this was a Flask application implementing that API. We tested this with dummy data, hooked up the database, all of this in development mode, created using codebases, that front end that you're seeing that obviously needs work, but it's something to work with. We've added tests.
Yeah.
The test passed. We deployed, and we did all of that, as you saw, with some iterations, some back and forth, sometimes with the assistant. This remains an assistant, like it should be considered as that. But an assistant that's really giving you like an increase in productivity. That is really the goal. So hopefully you got to see a glimpse of that productivity gain that you can also benefit from. And with that, we'll go back to the slides just to close and wrap this up. What I think I want to say, and this is a recap of what I was just saying and the things we talked about, the design phase, the building and testing, the deployment, but this is really what some people would call day one. There's a lot more things that can happen. Like things can go wrong in production. You can get error messages that you don't quite understand that you could feed to Code Assist and hopefully get some valuable information again because it understands what Google Cloud is and has been infused with all of that knowledge. The other thing that we want to say is that everything you've seen is obviously real. It's live. We didn't fake anything there. Not only that, but you can do everything we've just done in a code lab, which is freely accessible from this QR code or this URL, which will require you to have a Google Cloud account. But otherwise, it'll take you just pretty much the time we took. You'll find all the prompts, you'll find all the code, and even some troubleshooting steps if things were to go wrong. So hopefully you can leverage that as well and help yourself try to see what Code Assist can bring you. Okay, Romin, thank you very much. I think I know a bit more what I can expect from this. You've probably seen this side also about offers, and we do care greatly about feedback. Feedback is a gift. Thank you for your time. That's the other thing you've given us. If you can give us a little bit of feedback, we'd love that as well. And with that, I think we're done. Thank you, Romin.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.